Hello and welcome to the next installment of your Yoga 101 series. So we're going to follow on from our basics from last session, so working on our vinyasa flow, but now starting to focus on our lunging poses. So looking at alignment and technique for you to build a strong foundation for your lunging poses to then progress from. So we are going to start with a warm-up revisiting our vinyasa flow. So take your time, but we are going to come up to standing. Feet together at the top of your mat, big toes touching, a little bit of space between your heels, and bring your hands to heart center. From here, as you inhale, lift your hands towards the sky, palms touch. And as you exhale, swan dive forward, bend your knees as much as you need to, fingertips touch the ground. Inhale to lift halfway, fingertips on the ground or to your shins, make sure they're not hovering. Then step both feet back to your high plank, shift the weight into your tippy toes, bring your knees to the ground. Bend through the elbows and then start to come into your gentle back bend, your baby cobra. Keep the elbows tucked in. Bring your chin down. Come back through your knees, tuck your toes, downward facing dog. Feel free to walk your dog out, pressing one heel down at a time. And as you gently pedal through the feet, you're waking up through the back of the legs, Achilles, calf muscles. Then pause in your down dog, roll your shoulders away from your ears. Remember that external rotation. Come up onto the balls of your feet, bend your knees, starting to step the feet up to meet the hands. Inhale to lift halfway. Exhale to fold. Inhale, come all the way to stand, palms touch, and bring your hands to heart center. Let's flow one more time. Inhale, hands to the sky. Exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale to lift and lengthen. Exhale, step the feet back, this time knees on or off the ground. Shoulders still come forward, bend your elbows to 90 degrees. If you're ready, upward facing dog, otherwise cobra station modification. We flip over the toes, hips to the sky, downward facing dog. Come up onto your tippy toes, bend your knees, step or float the feet up to meet the hands. Inhale to lift, exhale to fold. Inhale, come all the way to stand, palms touch, and bring your hands to heart center. As you inhale, lift your hands towards the sky, palms touch, swan dive forward, bend the knees if you need to. Lift and lengthen, and then step back with your left foot into a runner's lunge. So we're taking a big step back, planting the foot lightly, and just have a little look at your front ankle. Is it stacked directly underneath your front knee? Bring your back knee down onto the ground to take pressure off the legs for a moment. Now this is a key alignment principle for you to carry through into all of your lunging poses. Making sure that we're not having our knee tracking past our ankle, and also making sure that our knee isn't too far back. We are stacking our joints. Similar to what we talked about with our Vinyasa Flow series, when we're talking about stacking our elbow over our wrist when we bend through our elbows. Take those principles now into your lunging poses, stacking joints to create a stronger and more stable foundation for the rest of the pose to grow from. So this is the habit that I'd like you to build into all of your lunging poses. Stacking knee over ankle. Stacking your joints so that your shin bone is vertical, straight up and down. So have a little look at your front ankle now. Is it directly underneath your front knee? Are you stacking your knee over the ankle? So just have a look at what that looks like for you and get in the habit of coming into that alignment each time you step through or step back into your lunging poses. So we're just going to spend a moment here in our runner's lunge with the back knee on the ground. So runner's lunge, back knee is lifted. Modification, back knee comes down onto the ground. Hands are framing the front foot, but roll your shoulders back. We keep that external rotation through our shoulders. This is one that starts to open up through our hip flexors. So this is at the front of the left hip that you'll start to feel a stretch, and we're opening out around our pelvis. So the beauty of lunges is that they build stability, but also mobility through our legs, and in particular focusing around the hips and pelvis. Now just take a moment here. You can bring your hands down onto the ground to frame the front foot. Sometimes you'll be cued to lift your hands towards the sky. So when we do that, palms facing each other, fingertips are active. There's space between your ears and your arms. Beautiful. Bring your hands back to the ground and just give your legs a little bit of a break. So start to straighten through your front leg and peel your toes back towards you. If that's too much, just keep a slight bend through the knee. So this is half Hanumasana, so half splits or half monkey pose. So just having a little bit of relief through that front leg for a moment. And then bend through the front knee once again. This time, if you need to keep the modification with the back knee down, you're welcome to. Otherwise, tuck your back toes under and come into your full runner's lunge now. So you're firing up the back leg, pulling your left hamstring towards the sky. Hands are framing the front foot, roll your shoulders back so you have that diagonal line from the crown of your head to your back heel. Take one more breath. Then bring your hands to the ground. Step back into your downward facing dog. Feel free to pedal the feet out a few times. Keep rolling your shoulders away from your ears. And then pause. And as you inhale, lift your left leg towards the sky. And then you'll step your left foot in between your hands, but come right up onto your right tippy toe. Curl your left knee in towards your nose, use your core. Then step that foot through in between the hands. So adjust the feet if you need to. And start to bring the back knee down onto the ground. So you'll start to see that sometimes we step back into a lunge, sometimes we step forward into a lunge, depending on the sequencing that your teacher will guide you through. But as you come into your lunge, we then revisit the same technique. Front ankle directly underneath front knee. So make sure that your foot isn't in too close toward you so that your knee juts past your ankle, but also to make sure that you're not bringing the foot too far through, and so that once again you can see your shin bone is on an angle instead of vertical. So hands to the ground, roll your shoulders back. Start to experience that sensation and stretch through the front of the right hip. So you're opening out through your hip flexor, shoulders back. Keep your head and neck in line with the rest of the spine. So sometimes you'll be cued to bring your hands to the ground. Other times, hands towards the sky, or maybe hands to heart center. So there's always lots of variations on these traditional poses. So taking a moment now, hands towards the sky, just start to experience how that changes the pose for you. It definitely becomes more engaged and more active variation. Bring your hands down either side of the front foot, and then start to straighten through the front leg into your half splits. Maybe you're peeling your left toes back towards you. Now stretching through the back of the left leg and bringing most of the weight into your right knee and keeping your right foot flat on the ground behind you. Then start to bend through your left leg once again. Come back into your modified runner's lunge. Now remember, this modification is always available to you if the variation serves you where you tuck your toes under and come into your full runner's lunge, now starting to lift the right knee off the ground. So you're powering up through your back leg, squaring your hips and shoulders, roll your shoulders back. Beautiful. Then step forward, forward fold. Toe heel your feet out to hip distance and just hang here for a moment. Whether you're leaving your fingertips on the ground or reaching for your elbows, you can have a little sway from side to side as we come into ragdoll, just that relaxed forward fold. And bring your hands to the ground, toe heel your feet in together to touch. Inhale to lift halfway. Exhale to fold. And then inhale, come all the way to stand, palms touch. And bring your hands to heart center. So you can start to see that basic alignment. So we always make sure with our lunging poses, front ankle directly underneath front knee. But I also want to talk to you about the positioning of your feet. So I'll turn front on to you for the moment. And so when you step through into your lunging poses, one thing that we're not doing is walking on a tightrope. So imagine trying to balance hiding one foot in front of the other. You can do it yourself. Bring your right foot in front of your left. So imagine that you're on a tightrope. Now just start to experience how easy or hard it is for you to balance in that position. Now start to bring your right foot directly out in front of your right hip, left foot directly behind your left hip. So now your feet and ankles are still in line with your hips, so that your feet are on train tracks instead of a tightrope. Now bring your hands out to the side and just start to notice how much easier and more stable it is for you to hold that position compared to the tightrope. So that's what I want you to think of when you come through into your lunging poses. Feet are on train tracks in line with your hips, in front or behind, rather than a tightrope. Okay, so from there, come to the top of your mat, bring your hands to heart center. Inhale, hands towards the sky. And as you exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale to lift halfway. This time step back with your right foot into your runner's lunge. So straight to where you left off. So now starting to notice if your front ankle's directly underneath your front knee, but also noticing, are you on a tightrope or are you on your train tracks? So right foot and ankle is still in line with my left hip, and right foot is stepped directly behind my right hip. So I'm not hiding my right foot behind my left. So if you need to, of course, you can always come to the modification with back knee down. Otherwise, fire up the back leg, roll your shoulders back. Beautiful. From here, coming into pyramid pose now. So start to straighten through the front leg. Back heel can be lifted or anchored, and maybe you're peeling your left toes back towards you for a moment. Stretching through the back of your left leg. And then bend your knee back into your runner's lunge. Plant your hands down onto the ground. This time you have the option for a vinyasa flow with knees on or off the ground, elbows bend to 90 degrees. Inhale into your back bend and exhale. Downward facing dog is where we meet. Take a breath here. Stay for the exhale. Next inhale, right leg towards the sky. Now come up onto the ball of your left foot. Curl your right knee in towards you, tiger curl, and then step with control. Bring your right ankle underneath your right knee. Adjust your feet if you need to come into your runner's lunge on the other side. Hands are framing the front foot, roll your shoulders back, broaden through your collarbones. So you are stretching around the pelvis as you're still finding that stability through your legs. Now from here, you can always keep the back knee on the ground. Otherwise, start to straighten through the front leg. Come into your pyramid pose. Maybe back heel is anchored, maybe it's lifted. Perhaps you're peeling your right toes back towards you. And then bend through your front knee, come back into that deep lunge. Keep the shoulders rolling back. And then start to bring your weight forward. Maybe there's a slight bend through your back knee as you pounce and float, feet together at the top of your mat. Inhale to lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale, come all the way to stand, palms touch, and bring your hands to heart center. So you can start to see how when we move through our lunging poses that we need to still find stability, because in our runner's lunge, our hands are still on the ground. But now we're going to progress into high lunges where our hands are lifting towards the sky, and that's when we really need to have that stability through the lower body. So bring your hands to heart center at the top of your mat. And then as you inhale, hands towards the sky, palms touch. Exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale to lift halfway. Exhale, step or float the feet back. Now you can work through a vinyasa flow or just simply meet back in downward facing dog, remembering that you don't always have to take all the vinyasa flows in class. Listen to your body, listen to your breath. Ramp it up when you'd like to, back it off when you need to. Now from here, from our down dog, lift your right leg towards the sky, and then you're going to bring your right foot in between your hands. So coming up onto the ball of your left foot, curl your right knee in towards your nose, step through with control into your runner's lunge. Now from your runner's lunge, as you inhale, We're going to come up into crescent lunge. So hands to hips if you need that for your balance. Then whenever you're ready, extending your hands towards the sky. So now we're still checking that our front knee is over our front ankle. We're staying right on the ball of our back foot. Bring your biceps back in line with your ears. If that's too much for your arms, bend your elbows out to the side. Otherwise, open out through the shoulders. Now, we're trying to keep a nice neutral spine here, but with a straight back leg, if you start to have too much of a curve through your lower spine, you can take a slight bend through your back knee, find that neutral spinal alignment, and reach your hands towards the sky. So whether your back knee is slightly bent, or whether you can keep your neutral spine with a straight back leg, just start to find your positioning now. Take one more breath. Now from here, we're going to come into arrowhead. So start to hinge forward. Bring your hands out behind you. You're now creating that beautiful diagonal line from the crown of your head to your back heel. Palms are facing down towards the ground, fingertips are active, roll your shoulders back. Inhale, rise up to your crescent lunge, and bring your hands to the ground. Step back to your downward facing dog. So lift your right foot up without dragging it, and step back into your down dog. Take a moment there. Remember, if down dog is too strenuous, you can always come into your child's pose. Finding a resting pose that feels good in your body. Now we'll start to work to the other side. So from your down dog, as you inhale, left leg towards the sky. Now come up onto the ball of your right foot, curl your left knee in, and step it through with control. So you're using your core to bring it through. Now you're starting in your runner's lunge first. Feet are on train tracks, not a tightrope. Front shin bone is vertical. Then hands to heart center if you need to for your balance. And then you're sweeping your arms towards the sky, crescent lunge. Come down a little deeper into the front knee and a little higher with your back heel. So you should be stacking your back heel over the ball of the foot. If it's too much for your shoulders, you can bend your elbows, cactus the arms. Otherwise, reach the hands towards the sky. Now from here, start to hinge forward, arrowhead. So you're just bringing the chest a little forward, just so you're creating that diagonal line from your back heel to the crown of your head. Fingertips are active, palms are facing down. Inhale, rise up, crescent lunge. Bring your hands to the ground. Now, once again, without sweeping the foot, can you use your core to step the left foot back without sliding it along your mat? Down dog or child's pose for a couple of breaths. And then everyone to child's pose for a moment. Take the pressure off the arms. Now you can start to see how we are moving quite slowly into these positions so that you can really feel where your body needs to be in the pose. So really finding that technique. Now when you come into your class, it might move a little faster, especially if you're coming into a hot or a flow class. But this positioning, these alignment principles will carry through. So the more that you start to experience them, the more naturally it will come to you and you will build those good habits. Okay, from here we are going to now work from crescent lunge into warrior one. So with our warrior one, it's very similar in the top half of your body to our crescent lunge, only with our lower body, the back heel spins down onto the ground. So I'll face forward for a moment. I'll show you where we're going. So runner's lunge, crescent lunge. The difference with warrior one is that the back heel spins down onto the ground. So back leg is straight, back heel spins down, hands are still sweeping towards the sky. So from the side, what that looks like, so here is your crescent lunge with the back heel lifted. Here is your warrior one with the back heel spinning down onto the ground. So as a general guide, your back foot's on around a 45-degree angle, but depending on your body, your ankle mobility, and your positioning, it might be slightly more or slightly less, but as a general guide, around 45 degrees. So coming into your downward facing dog now, lift your right leg towards the sky. and then come up onto the ball of your left foot, curl your right knee in, plant it in between your hands, and then spin your back heel down onto the ground, and then sweep your hands towards the sky. Warrior one. So biceps back in line with your ears, fingertips are active, come down a little deeper into the front knee. So our front knee is still stacked over our front ankle. The only real difference is now back heel is spinning down to the ground. You're still trying to square your hips towards the front of the room. Beautiful. From here, we're going to open up into warrior two. So with warrior two, your back foot now shifts to 90 degrees. So from 45 to 90. So the outside edge of your foot is parallel with the back edge of your mat. And you're opening out your entire body to the side of the room, then turning your gaze over the two peace fingers of your right hand. So now your arms are extended. So you can see my entire body is facing the side, but then I turn my gaze towards my right hand. But still, right knee is stacked over right ankle, and you're engaging your inner thighs, pulling them in towards each other to help anchor your feet. Now from here, we're going to reverse our warrior. So reach forward, flip your right palm, reach your right hand up as your left hand trails your back leg. Now you're trying to not put weight in that left hand. It does slide down the left leg, but you're making it weightless by lifting up as you reach back. One more breath. Then start to bring your hands back to the ground. Lift your back heel, come back to your runner's lunge. And then push back into your downward facing dog. You can rest in your child's pose if you prefer. Then take a breath, lifting left leg towards the sky. Come onto the ball of your right foot, curl your left knee in, left foot steps forward. So runner's lunge first, find your alignment. So this is your foundation. And then spin your back heel down onto the ground. And then sweep your hands towards the sky. Warrior one. So the Sanskrit name for warrior is Virabhadrasana. So you might also hear this being called Virabhadrasana one. Back heel down on the ground. Square your hips and shoulders to the front of the mat. Have a little peek. Make sure that your left knee is over your left ankle. Back heel is anchored. Arms are straight. There is space between your bicep and your ears. And then open up into warrior two. So now your back foot is on that 90-degree angle. Outside edge of your foot in line with the outside edge of your mat. Arms are extending. So you're making sure the back arm isn't dropping down. It's in line with the front arm. Your shoulders are stacked over your hips, so you're not leaning forward or back. So shoulders over hips, arms extended. You're opening out your entire body to the side, but then turning your head towards your left hand. Come down a little deeper into the front knee, grounding down through the feet, engaging your thighs, inner thighs, pull them towards each other to help anchor your feet. Now from here, keep your lower body where it is. Reach forward, flip the left hand, reach towards the sky as your right hand lightly touches the back leg, lifting up as you reach back to reverse your warrior. And then bring your hands back to your warrior two. Come down a little deeper and then windmill your arms to the ground. Runner's lunge as your right heel lifts and then push back into your downward facing dog. Can you do that by engaging your core and not sweeping your foot along your mat? Beautiful. Take a moment. Come into your child's pose and relax. Now you can start to feel in your body how these poses, when you are linking them with vinyasa flow, starts to build quite a dynamic yoga practice, strengthening and lengthening the body. So lunging poses are a big part of our practice. So building that alignment and technique will be really important for you to have that really strong foundation. And as you build strength and stability in the right positioning, you have that beautiful foundation for the rest of your practice to grow from. So taking a moment now in your child's pose to just allow everything to settle back down observing your heart rate, observing your breath. And then coming back into your down dog just for a moment. Roll your shoulders away from your ears. As you inhale, bring your right leg towards the sky. Now step your right foot on the outside of your right hand. So this time you're coming into a lunge with both hands on the inside of your right foot. Now this is called lizard lunge. And bring your back knee down onto the ground. So with your lizard lunge, we have both hands on the ground and your right foot towards the outside of your mat. Beautiful. Now you have the option of staying up on your hands, or you can come down onto your elbows. Just spending a moment starting to open out a little more through the hips. So lizard lunge is just slightly different. So instead of your feet being on those train tracks, now your right foot is further out towards the side. Take one more breath. And you're coming back up onto your hands. Tuck your back toes under. And then push back into downward facing dog. Next inhale, left leg towards the sky. Now step your left foot on the outside of your left hand for the lizard lunge on the other side. Now you can leave the back knee lifted or bring it down onto the ground. But you'll notice even in our lizard lunge, ankle underneath knee. And then either staying on the hands, or if you have the range of motion, you can start to come down onto your elbows for a few moments. And then take your time coming back up onto your hands. Tuck your back toes under, straighten through the back leg, lift the left foot up and step back, downward facing dog. Step both feet forward and cross the feet over to come to a seated position. Bring your legs out in front of you and gently lie down on your backs. Shavasana. So you'll experience Shavasana at the end of every class to allow you a few moments of stillness, reflection and relaxation, to allow the benefits of your practice to sink into the body. And start to bring your knees in towards your chest. If you'd like to stay in relaxation for longer, of course, you're more than welcome to. The option to either roll over onto one side and press up to seated, or rock and roll along your spine a few times. Bring your hands to heart center. And take a moment to bow your heads. Together we say Namaste. Now I hope that session helped to give you more awareness of your body positioning as you come into those different lunging poses. And of course there will always be different modifications and variations as you come into different classes, but that hopefully gives you a really strong basic knowledge and foundation to carry into class with you. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.